She walked into the store like any other customer, calm, confident, unnoticed by most. But to a pair of suspicious eyes, her skin color spoke louder than her badge ever could. Within minutes, whispers turned into accusations, and uniformed officers stormed in as if she were a criminal caught red-handed. They didn't ask, they didn't question, they acted. But what they didn't know was chilling. The woman they were about to humiliate wasn't just any shopper. She was an off-duty police captain. What happens when the protectors become the accusers? Watch until the end because this story will leave you speechless. Wait a second, tell us where you're watching from in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Her name was Captain Maya Johnson, a decorated officer with over 15 years of service. She had dedicated her life to protecting her city, earning the respect of her peers and the admiration of her community. Off-duty, she was simply Maya, a mother, a mentor, and someone who cherished quiet evenings after long shifts. That day, she stopped by a local department store to pick up groceries and a small gift for her niece. Nothing unusual. She blended into the crowd, wearing plain clothes and carrying her purse. To the outside world, she looked like any other woman running errands. But the weight of her uniform, her authority, and her achievements remained invisible when the badge wasn't on her chest. She never imagined that within minutes her presence in that store would be seen not as ordinary, but as suspicious. And in a country where skin color too often determines perception, suspicion could turn dangerous very quickly. As Maya browsed the aisles, she noticed two store employees whispering to each other, their eyes darting in her direction. She shrugged it off, assuming it was a coincidence. But moments later, she felt the unmistakable presence of security shadowing her every move. A knot formed in her stomach. She had seen this before, not as a target, but as an officer called to respond to so-called shoplifting incidents. When she picked up a toy for her niece and slipped it into her cart, the whispers grew louder. Within minutes, two police officers entered the store, their posture stiff, their eyes already scanning the crowd until they landed on her. Shoppers watched as the officers approached, their voices sharp and commanding. Without asking questions, they demanded to see her bag. Maya tried to remain calm, but the humiliation of being singled out in front of strangers was unbearable. The officers didn't give her a chance to explain. They grabbed her by the arm and accused her of stealing, ignoring her protests. Phones came out, people recording every moment as if it were a form of entertainment. Maya's heart pounded. She could feel the weight of decades of racial bias pressing down on her, reducing her to nothing more than a suspect. As they placed handcuffs on her wrists, the irony cut deep. She had spent years teaching her team about justice, fairness, and integrity, yet here she was, treated like a criminal for nothing more than the color of her skin. But the officers had no idea who they were dealing with. The cold metal of the handcuffs bit into her wrists as the officers led her toward the exit. Shoppers whispered, some gasping in disbelief, others shaking their heads. But Maya's silence carried a storm. She could have spoken up, flashed her badge, demanded respect, but instead, she waited. Outside, a supervisor arrived, clearly pleased to catch a thief. But when they searched her bag, they found nothing unpaid for. Every item had a receipt. Confusion spread across the officers' faces, and that's when Maya spoke. Calm, steady, but with an authority that shook the air around them, she revealed her identity. Captain Maya Johnson, commanding officer of their very own precinct. The silence was deafening. Faces turned pale, jaws dropped. The officers who had maltreated her suddenly stood frozen, realizing the gravity of their mistake. This wasn't just about a false accusation, it was about the system's reflex to criminalize her existence before knowing the truth. The incident sent shockwaves through the department and the community. Maya chose not to scream or retaliate in anger. Instead, she filed an official report demanding accountability. The footage went viral, sparking outrage far beyond the city. People weren't just watching a wrongful arrest. They were witnessing how easily prejudice overrides justice. For Maya, it wasn't just about her own humiliation. It was about every person who didn't have a badge to shield them, every black man and woman who had been silenced, arrested, or worse, for simply existing in the wrong place at the wrong time. The officers were disciplined, and the store issued a public apology, but the scar remained. Maya continued her service, but with a renewed mission, to confront the bias not only in the streets, but also within the very system sworn to protect. How many more lives must be shattered before the world understands? And for those watching now, where are you watching from? Take care.